Welcome to Freaky Fauna Friday, where every Friday we take a little time and explore some of the freaks of nature from around the planet we cherish so deeply. So please, jump aboard and let's explore the wilds together.
Oh, wow. It's Friday already?
It is.
Wow.
It's been Friday for an hour.
I love Fridays. You know why? Because it's Freaky Fauna Friday.
It's Freaky Fauna Friday. Now we're going to talk about one that is absolutely...
We are? Who's we?
Oh, I'm the Great and Peaceful Mystery.
Oh, and I'm Jay.
So this is one that... Normally what I do for these episodes is I do fun facts for kids or whatever. It's 15 minutes. We don't need to go into all the crazy biological processes and stuff.
Right. We just want those freaky fauna facts.
This one does not exist as far as for those kind of things.
Oh.
This is such an unknown animal unless you're in very, very tight amphibian circles.
That's only funny probably to me. Tight neck amphibian circles.
It's one of the largest amphibians in North America.
Wow.
Not a true salamander, but we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
The Amphiuma.
Amphiuma?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're often called barking eels.
Oh, barking. Okay. I think I've heard of these before.
There's another animal that'll be in a month on Freaky Fauna called the greater siren, which technically is a salamander, but looks like you took an axolotl and stretched it way out.
Oh, like that thing from Russia.
Like a mermaid. Oh, yeah, like an ohm, but no hind legs.
Okay.
Like an eel tail. So these look like big eels.
Okay. Amphiuma.
Yep. Amphiuma.
Amphiuma.
Yep. There's one-toed, two-toed, and three-toed Amphiuma.
Dang. That's a lot of toes.
No, it's not.
If you add them all up.
No, it's still not.
6 is more than 5. 5 I'd say the average.
So they do have hind legs and front legs, but they're almost vestigial. They're really, really tiny.
Okay.
But we're going to talk. Amphiuma are awesome. I had them for a little bit. Me and Emily had a really big one in the apartment for a long time.
Oh, really? In the old studio?
This is before the old studio, but yeah. This is the first apartment we had.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that one.
No, yeah, because you were just there for the second apartment, the bigger apartment. So Amphiuma, they are in the Salamanderidae suborder. So it's weird when we start talking about this because this is, we talked about taxonomy a lot. Gets moved around and changed, and it's a man-made structure to explain biology for us. So Amphiumidae is their true family. Whether they're salamanders or not, you could argue for and against.
Well, what else would they be?
Their own thing.
Oh.
They're a really ancient order of amphibians. They've been, toads are their own order of amphibians. Toads and frogs are separate, right?
Right.
They look similar.
Right.
They have the same body.
Right.
But separate.
So
Salamanders and newts look similar.
I understand.
Are separate.
Now. Right. So they'd be an amphibian.
They are an amphibian. Yeah. They're related. Their closest related tree. Their order would be the Salamandra.
Right.
All right. So Amphiuma is a genus of aquatic salamanders in the United States. The only extinct genus family of Amphiumidae. They are colloquially known as Amphiumas. So that's the whole big group is Amphiumas. They are known as fishermen as conger eels, conjure,
right?
No, conger eels.
Okay.
There's a conger eel in northern Atlantic. These guys are in freshwater swamps of South America or of North America and the South.
Okay.
So they just call them the same name. They call them eels.
Okay.
They also call them Congo snakes. Is another thing.
Oh. Okay.
A lot of people think they don't they're really pretty secretive. So every time a fisherman gets one in Arkansas, Louisiana, Florida, something like that, they're like, "Oh, what is this thing?"
It's an Amphiuma.
Amphiuma, which is zoologically incorrect and it's a misnomer. These Amphiumas are actually salamanders, thus amphibians. They're not fish nor reptiles, nor Congo eels. They are the largest. Amphiuma exhibits one of the largest completements of DNA in the living world, around 25 times more than humans.
Oh, so they have that much more. What are those things called? You're talking about in their DNA, they have to sequence of things.
They have.
Why can't I think of the name?
I lost.
Yeah,
it's early.
I know it's very early.
I can't read. I've struggled. Largest completements of DNA in the living world. 25 times more than that of a human.
Okay.
So they have 25 times. It's not. See, this is where we start talking about with DNA and stuff like that. If anybody listens to the main show, you've heard us kind of get into the DNA talk. If it doesn't really mean what I think a lot of humans think it means.
Okay.
To me, it's like older, right? So these are really, really, really old species, primordial.
Okay.
And I think that's where we find a lot of cures for diseases and stuff like that, because these guys still have all their boxes unchecked.
Right.
So they're still open to it. Like, they have tons and tons of DNA. They probably have all these hidden things. So the more complicated your biological systems get, the more defined your blueprint gets.
Okay.
So I think you lose some of those abilities to handle some of these diseases like cancer and stuff like that. Like when the more primordial species don't exhibit those things.
You don't get them because they can deal with them.
Yeah, yeah. So numerous pathological studies have been done on Amphiuma from the clade family Rhyodontius, which is torrent salamanders, and Plioidae, which is lungless salamanders, which exhibit close relationships to these groups. Despite the possible relationship, the two families must still diverge really, really early on. The genus Amphiumas from the Cretaceous is the earliest known members of this family, closely resembling the modern species aside from the less elaborate vertebrate structures. So yeah, these guys, they've been old for a long time. Amphiumas have an extremely long body, generally dark gray or black in color. They have legs, but they are merely vestigial and very, very small. Some are missing them completely. They get bit off by each other a lot and stuff like that. So they may not have them.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally like tiny little things.
Okay.
They look like skin tags almost.
Ew.
You can see the kind of little toes.
Tiny little
toes. Some of our biggest ones are measuring 46 inches long.
Ooh, almost 4 feet.
Yeah, the one me and Emily had was 3 foot.
Okay. I was going to ask how much they weigh. Like, roughly. There's one that big.
Oh, probably 5-6 pounds.
Oh, okay. So
They're hot dogs.
Okay.
They're hot dogs. Imagine a big hot dog.
With front legs?
Back legs, too. They're just tiny little sets.
Right.
But they get about an inch wide.
Okay.
So that 46 incher was about an inch wide.
Yeah, so a hot dog.
Hot dog.
Yeah.
They are often mistaken for eels and snakes. They lack eyelids and they lack a tongue. Amphiuma have a lateral line visible on the sides of their body. One of the few vertebrates to have, or one of the few non-fish vertebrates to have this.
The lateral line?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a fish characteristic.
Right.
Since pressure differences.
Uh-huh.
These guys have it.
Nice.
Amphiumas also have the lateral lines visible, which are capable to detect movement and aids in them hunting. Female Amphiuma lay eggs in wet mud. They remain coiled up around these eggs for up to 5 months until they hatch. The larvae have external gills for about 4 months. These external gills will then disappear and then begin using their lungs. One pair of gill slits still remain and never disappear. So the metamorphosis remains incomplete. Once again, speaking to them being a much ancienter species of animal.
So they have gills and they're laid in the mud. Do they immediately, when they're hatched, go into the water?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they can, like, they kind of breathe through their skin and they get air.
Yeah.
So.
But they switch from gills to breath? Like breathing with their mouth?
Yeah, a lot of salamanders do that.
Oh, okay. It's a common thing.
Yeah, in salamanders, yeah.
I thought they all breathe through their skin.
No.
Okay.
No, they
I don't
all
know
have
why,
permeable skin.
They what?
They all have permeable skin.
Okay. So they absorb things through the skin.
Yes.
Gotcha.
But they don't all get their oxygen. Like, there's a whole group of lungless salamanders.
That get their oxygen.
They have gills and then they have their skin.
Okay.
Like, they don't have lungs ever.
Gotcha.
Amphiuma need their lungs.
Okay.
So like I said, there's 3-toed, 2-toed, and 1-toed Amphiuma. 1-toads are the rarest. 3-toes are the most common. 3-toes are the biggest.
Are these like all... Oh, okay. So they're definitely different.
They are very different species.
Okay.
When you see them in person, it's a little easier.
And they all have the tiny little nubby toes?
Yeah.
It's just 1, 2, and 3?
1-toed Amphiuma almost don't have them at all.
Right, yeah.
3-toed Amphiuma, which, because they're the biggest of the three.
More prominent.
But they also have the biggest vestigial legs. They can actually move them a little bit still.
Ooh.
So you see their little toes like wiggle.
Yeah, it's like a starfish feet.
There you go. Yeah, so their distribution. 3-toed Amphiuma can kind of pop up anywhere in the southeast United States.
Okay.
From Texas to Florida up to the Carolinas. Their range has been decimated.
Okay.
But they have sporadic populations.
Yeah.
Tennessee, I think, has had populations of these guys. And the 2-toed Amphiuma is right there with them.
Okay.
3-toed and 3-toes often co-occur. Now, the 1-toed Amphiuma is much more rare.
Right.
Some argued that they may have, like, it was thought they went extinct at some point, but we found them again, more recently.
Is that a taxon animal? What's that called? Lazarus taxon?
Not quite, because it didn't disappear from the fossil record.
Oh,
it disappeared while we were watching it.
Gotcha.
Central Florida, Florida Panhandle, and extremely south Georgia, and really extremely south Alabama. So these guys have a much more isolated range. They're basically just native to Florida.
Okay.
In the couple of the states that are just barely touching.
Yeah.
There's several extinct species. There's Amphiuma arctica, which is one extinct in Texas. It's its own species in Texas. And Amphiuma jesseni, which is extinct out of Wyoming.
Oh. So is this a North American only creature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Amphiuma inhabit the southwestern parts of the United States. They are pretty much the same distributions as another freaky fauna in a couple months, which is the sirens. Although they are not related whatsoever.
Okay.
It's weird. It's coversion evolution, because when we talk about them, they look like you taped a salamander head onto an Amphiuma.
Okay.
Because Amphiuma do not look like salamanders.
Gotcha.
They have like almost canid heads.
Wow.
Big, long faces with like,
Like little dragons?
Yeah, if you caught one, I get why you call it a fish.
Yeah.
Until you start looking at the legs and stuff like that, and they walk on land.
Like, wait a minute.
So during the day, Amphiuma hide in vegetation. They are pretty much nocturnal. Their prey includes frogs, snakes, fish, crustaceans, insects, other Amphiuma. Hunting and eating habits are observed very similar to that of axolotls, including the sucking on its food with their stomachs to create a vacuum force to pull the guts out.
Oh, okay.
So people think it's cute. Like axolotls do that in captivity. Like,
yeah.
They suck on something, and they're actually sucking the guts out because they don't want to deal with the exoskeletons.
Right.
If provoked, they become very aggressive. They can be found in pretty much every wetland in the coastal plains of the southeast United States, which periodically dry out. These guys are fine with that. Most of the times, they'll just dig a hole in the deep mud and wait till it comes back. Amphiuma are rarely encountered on land, but they have been videoed on land in Florida.
Oh, cool.
So they can't crawl on land.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's for hunting crayfish or to get to new bodies of water.
Right.
They don't do it very often. They don't like to come on land.
Yeah.
But they move kind of like an eel or a snake.
I was going to say, have you ever seen that video? It's someone says like, they wanted to show me this special talent, and this guy lays on the ground and puts his arms out, and he's literally stands up on his fingers and his toes, like just his fingers and toes, and starts moving them and crawls along
Don't
the
like
ground.
that.
It looked like a cartoon. It was really funny.
Don't like that.
But he was moving about like an inch. Like he was moving so slow, but he was moving, and he was just like, it was pretty funny.
It's the females that court the males before mating. When the pair is formed, they wrap their bodies around each other. The male will transfer spermophores directly into the female's cloaca.
Like a bird.
Some birds, yes.
Some birds, yes.
Yeah, birds are a bit. When we talk about sexual reproduction, birds have a ton of different ways they do it.
Okay.
But yes, this is giving a sperm packet essentially. The male gives to the female.
Yeah.
So she can, use it to internally fertilize her eggs.
Yeah.
And then she can lay them at a later date. Amphibians are another one of those groups that have tons and tons of ways of fertilization.
Yeah.
Scatter spawning is pretty much like where they lay the eggs and they drop the semen on top of the eggs.
Right.
Like a lot of fish do.
That's the most common, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But fish are another one.
They do the same thing, or both, right?
They have a lot of different ways they reproduce.
Okay.
Fish do.
And I guess birds too, right? Might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really when you get to like mammals and stuff like that, you stop seeing as big of a variety.
Right.
But yeah. Any questions so far?
Not yet. No.
No, I love these guys. So me and Emily had a pet one. I can't even remember what she was named. I think she's at a zoo in Kentucky.
Really?
I can't remember where she ended up.
That's cool.
She was really friendly. We had a couple of them. She was the only one that was friendly.
What do you mean by friendly? Like how?
She'd come up and let you pet her, like when you were feeding her.
Neat.
So the crazy thing they do when they swallow their food, like crustaceans and stuff like that, they throw up the shells.
Oh, cool.
But it's wrapped in mucus.
Okay.
So it didn't
Gross.
look right.
Yeah,
it didn't look
gross.
right. So
Yeah.
you'd see
These things.
Yeah. But she'd get on the floor and bark.
Really? Like put me back in?
No, she'd come out and go back in herself.
Oh, really?
She'd force her way out of her tank. We had a big rock on top of it.
Yeah.
And she'd get out, crawl around the floor.
And bark at you?
Yeah, we'll talk about the barking. So anatomy, jaw muscles. Amphiuma are primitive carnivore amphibians that consume pretty much everything they can catch. Similar to a lot of salamanders, Amphiuma have two distinct forms of suction feeding procedures, stationary and strike. Stationary suction feeding involves little to no movement, where they open their mouth, and basically the expansion causes animals and stuff to get pulled into their mouth.
Okay.
The other one is a much more rapid strike, almost like a snake,
Okay.
where they force their mouth around something. They create a void and force something in there. So their lungs are very unique. Amphiumas possess relatively ancestral forms of lungs. Some biologists argue if you can even call them lungs.
Ooh, primitive lungs.
They may be swim bladders, like we talked about with the bowfin.
Yeah.
But uses it as a lung.
Yeah.
But it's a swim bladder. It's still a swim bladder is the
Right.
organ. So it matters who you talk to when you come to this stuff. The lungs are long organs extending over half the body's length, with dense capillary networks and large surface area to specialize in utilization of the entire lung for respiration, whether the animal is in the water or on land. Although it is common for Amphiuma to respirate out of their skin, although some of these will cause continuous responsiveness, it is found that Amphiuma primarily respirate through their lungs, despite their mostly aquatic lifestyle. So all of that's saying is it's really rare for a fully aquatic amphibian to not breathe through its skin.
Right.
These guys, even though they're they're pretty much fully aquatic, they'll come on land if they have to. They still rather use their lungs.
Right, yeah. And, I mean...
There's a ton more about their respiration. Like, it's weird even within their own, like, in the group of amphibians. Their lungs are extremely unique and probably give us a dive into a lot of stuff about our own anatomy and biology that we don't understand fully. Sexual dimorphism is kind of my last little blob. Amphiuma demonstrate sexual dimorphism in relation to their size of their body and their head size. Generally, males have been found to possess extremely larger bodies and longer heads compared to the female, which normally indicate the male-to-male combat observed within the population. There have been, however, no other physical indications factors for male-to-male combat as in other species of amphibians, such as horns, spines, or teeth marks. Some populations do not show these sexual dimorphism traits, and there are certain locations females and males' bodies do not exhibit any traits of significant difference at all. So we really don't know if they're sexually dimorphic or not.
Or not, right.
Some individual populations are, it seems. Some aren't. They think they may do some kind of territorial thing. A lot of amphibians do all kinds of like contests for mating. We've never seen that with Amphiuma. Amphiuma are incredibly secretive. They're almost wiped out of this country before we even knew what they were.
Well, some of them are. Or were,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, those went extinct a long time ago.
Oh, okay. So if we find them again, they would be Lazarus
Yeah,
taxon.
they would be Lazarus taxon.
Okay.
Amphiumas may be sexed as male and female based on pigmentation and cloaca openings. Males exhibit white or pink coloration, while females exhibit dark pigmentation.
Oh, so a mild difference.
It's very hard to tell these guys apart.
You know, you could tell the difference, I'm sure, if he were still with us today. Steve Irwin.
Oh yeah, no, he'd do it for other reasons.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. No, so these guys are really wicked as far as like a species that a lot of people don't know about. I highly suggest everybody looks at a picture of these guys.
I've never heard of them.
They bark. Like I said, what they'll do is they'll push air out of their lungs and it makes like a bark noise. Can they do this as defense?
I was going to ask if you could like kind of imitate it, but is it like
a broken whoopee cushion?
Really? Like yeah. Okay.
Because they don't have vocal cords.
So I've heard.
So it's just
forcing air out.
fast out.
I've heard these fish. We were fishing in Florida. I'm trying to think. We were fishing in Florida, like deep sea fish or whatever, and I brought up this little fish, and it was like a pig fish.
Yeah.
Is that, and it kind of.
So that's pharyngeal teeth.
Okay.
It has teeth in its stomach and it grinds them together to make that sound.
Oh, okay. I just thought it was like grunting out too.
No.
Okay.
No, so this is like, yeah.
More of a.
Amphiuma are really cool. They're indicator species. You only find them where anywhere's nice.
Okay. Explains why.
Not a lot of places are nice anymore.
Yeah. Hey, maybe they're going to come back to Ohio.
I don't know if they ever were in Ohio. They really do seem like a southern-oriented species.
Yeah.
The ones in Wyoming, when they were in Wyoming was warm.
Okay.
Like really, like always warm.
Okay.
So, as it's gotten cooler, it seems like they receded to the south.
So it's not a good
And
cold.
I think they'll maybe start moving back up north. And you can argue, like, when I say their range is the southeast United States, it's because you can Google it and find 50 different answers from 50 different biologists that spent years and years and years studying this. Doesn't mean anybody's wrong or right.
The science isn't settled.
Right. There's a lot of, like, appropriate habitat is when we start talking about amphibians, it's really, really hard because a lot of them have been just wiped out, decimated.
Right.
Ohio has the green salamander. That's kind of a joke because we have like 6 of them left.
Oh, gotcha. And you found one.
Not in Ohio.
Oh,
I was in Tennessee.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
found like 50 of them.
Yeah.
And
Should have brought some back.
No, well,
Again, when that's illegal, but
I was like about to pee myself because it's like, if I was in Ohio, this would be like,
you would have peed yourself.
yeah, because you don't. There's like 6 of them in Ohio.
Yeah.
No, but you find appropriate habitat. So we don't really know their range in Ohio.
Okay.
Because they were wiped out really early on, the settlement of Ohio. So it's kind of a guesswork of just like, well, there's appropriate habitat here, so they probably lived here.
Right.
So that's a lot that happens with the Amphiuma too.
Yeah.
We find these swamps that are appropriate habitat,
Because Ohio used to be swamp.
but cold. That we were cold swamp.
Oh, okay.
We did have the sirens, which I can't wait for. When you compare these 2 species together, they're really unique.
You're teasing them for the
I
future.
love sirens. I had both.
Yeah.
I had a greater siren
Oh,
and a
nice.
3-toed Amphiuma.
Nice.
Or did I have a greater? I can't remember now if it was a lesser. There's lesser graders and reticulateds.
Well, save it.
Yeah, well, there you go. I have been the great and peaceful mystery.
And I've been Jay.
We'll catch you next week, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Freaky Fauna Friday. If you want to help the podcast grow, remember to share and give it a 5-star review.